Today we're going to take a look at some advanced concepts, not only in Query Builder, but also in the modeler. Now, I'm going to use QuickBooks as my example here, but really this applies to almost any custom data that you bring back. Now, I've already authenticated. Let's get into pulling back some of this data. And we're going to start by using a table called Balance Sheet Summary Report. It's a pretty rich data source, so there's a lot of stuff to work with. So we're going to start by choosing just a few columns. So account, row group, row type, and total, and see what we get back. So you can see that we've got good data here, but you can see that there's a couple of zeros, and in the row type, you can see that there's values that are called section or data or blank. So let's just bring back the data, and that'll clean up the data already because we don't want the column totals. We really will only want the raw data. Okay, so here we have it. This is already much cleaner, but if we're going to create a metric that is looking only at current assets, you can see that there's a whole bunch of there's liabilities and equity in here. So we want to be very specific. Let's use a match any function. And we're going to say it equals current asset bank accounts. Now I've got these copied in a notepad, so it makes it a little easier. We're going to go back and we're going to add another one. Now we have current assets AR or accounts receivable. And I'm going to add one other one as well. And you can see that these are all using an OR statement to then filter this information. So it then goes back to the API, it queries, and here we have a really nice, simple data source that is only looking at the data for our current assets. So now we can actually go into Modeler and continue the prepping or the cleaning up of this data source. All right, so there's a few other things that we want to do here. So account looks good, row group looks pretty messy, and row type we don't really need. So we're going to use a function where we actually clean up row group. Now, this is a function that is called substitute. You can learn more about that using our documentation, but it basically takes an element of the string and it substitutes it with something else. So I'm going to use a results reference, which you start with the ampersand. So I'm referencing results group, and I want to get all of that stuff right to the second pipe, and I want to replace it with basically nothing. So you can see inside of my quotation marks, I've got nothing. Look at that. I mean, that substitute function beautifully cleans up my data from row group. I actually now have another column that I can segment by, so we'll call that account type. Let's make sure that this is, of course, currency. And this is a beautiful little data source that we can now use to build a current assets metric from. So we'll get into that process. The measure is going to be the total. We're going to use a couple of different elements to segment by, so the account name and the account type. It's coming in on the current date, so this is a current values or a snapshot type of data shape. Let's give it a name. We'll call it current assets, currency, and we want that going up. And we'll hit save, and there it is. Let's click on that to see it inside of the Explorer. There we go. You can see that it's already segmented over current assets or the asset name. You can change the segmentation quite easily, change the visualization. So there we go. We've walked through bringing in some custom data using an OR statement and some filters inside Query Builder to refine the data. And then in Modeler, we further cleaned up the data and got it ready for this really nice current assets metric. So as always, let us know if you've got any questions. Hopefully this was helpful. Thanks so much.